Now that you own a LEHR Garden, it's time to maintain it. So what needs to be done to maintain a LEHR Garden? A LEHR Garden is very specifically designed to be very, very low maintenance. There's not a lot that you have to do. Most of what you're going to deal with is equipment failures. The tricky part is to try and figure out where the problem is so that you can replace the right part. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to run through the diagnostics of the problem to help you determine which part needs to be replaced or how to maintain it appropriately. One of the common problems that we hear is my pump stopped working. And yes, indeed, in some cases, the pump itself will actually stop working and you need to replace the pump. But we want to make sure before we do that that there's not something else that's going on. So I wanted to show you the assembly that we have here. So we have power that's coming from an electrical outlet. If at all possible, that electrical outlet has a GFCI on it. And so the power comes from the outlet to this splitter into a timer, and then the timer runs the pump. So any of those pieces could have gone wrong. So first thing to check often is if you have a GFCI on your outlet, check that. If it's switched, just switch it back on, hit the reset button. The other thing that you could also check is whether or not you have a flipped breaker switch in your electrical box. Coming to here, we've got the power cord that runs into this. This also has a GFCI, so you just hit that button there to make sure that's working. And the best way to check that is just take something else, even a hairdryer, and plug it in here and see if you have electrical flow all the way to the outlet. On the timer itself, it has a button that says on, auto, off. It's just a toggle switch, and where it's currently at is on the screen here. So you want to basically just hit that until it gets to on and see if that turns your pump on. If not, again, plug something into this and make sure that it's not this timer here. Then if that isn't it, then you can go ahead and determine that it is actually the pump. One of the things that I like to do actually is I'll take the pump. If I know my outlet's working, I'll unplug the pump from the timer, plug it directly into the outlet, and that'll help me see if it is in fact the pump. You want to check and see if your timer is working. So it has a little button here that says on, auto, off. It's a toggle switch that moves it through the states, and where it's at currently is on the screen. So it'll typically be in the auto position, and you want to always leave it in the auto position, but hit it a couple times until it goes to on. If the pump doesn't turn on, then that might be a pump problem, but you also can take whatever it was that you plugged into the outlet to check it and plug it into the timer to see if the timer is itself working. One of the things that we take into mind is the maintenance. So all of these joints are glued, and that'll help keep it from leaking. But this last joint right here is not glued. Just wiggle that off and get the pump off, and then you can buy a new pump and just slap it right on, plug it in. It's very easy to replace. The LEHR Garden also has a very small fountain pump that we use for water circulation. This keeps the water aerated so that the fish will survive. And so if this stops working, then the water conditions may not be friendly to the fish. Is the pump itself plugged? So there's a little hose that runs down through the drain of the tank, and if you just follow that hose down, it connects right into the top of this pump. There's a little filter here, and so what you want to do is take a sharp implement, like I used to use a pocket knife, and you want to just give that a little bit of a twist, and this whole piece slides off. And sometimes you'll see a lot of gunk built up in here. Just rinse that off. Once you've got it cleaned out, you just slide it right back on, and you're good to go. If you let the water level drop too low, sometimes you'll see these things will get left out of the water and they'll burn themselves up doing that. Usually you'll see a little bulging or bubbling on the plastic on the side, and that's a clear sign that the pump itself needs to be replaced. One of the other common problems that you'll see is that you'll have fittings for the hose connections that tend to leak. That can either be solved by tightening them a little bit, or the other piece that is worth knowing is there's a little gasket in here. That gasket will degrade with time, and so all you have to do is unscrew it, pry it out of there. This is what the little gasket looks like. Slide it back in there, screw it back on, and you're good to go. One of the other places where we'll very occasionally see maintenance issues is the pond liner itself. So the pond liner is this piece of plastic that lines the inside of the bed. It is one solid piece for the entire garden. The only hole that's punched in it, or should be punched in it, is the drain itself. So if you come out and you see like a wet spot or a drip that's somewhere in the middle of the bed, that's a problem. That means there's a hole that got punched in there. Sometimes it can happen while we're digging out the soil to replace it, or if something sharp punctured it, somebody wasn't careful, or even a rodent. The holes themselves are relatively easy to patch. What you do is you take a glue called E6000. You clean the spot really, really well. Make sure that it's very dry. Hit it with a little bit of sandpaper. You want another scrap of pond liner, and you hit that with sandpaper as well. And then glue it together with the E6000. Give it about 24 hours to dry, and then you're good to go.